Well, guys, it is now time for my Week 10 picks of the 2025 NFL season. As, of course, last week I went 10-4, which, of course, didn't update this. It is better than last week, of course, but not much difference. Sucks I couldn't get 75% correct. And, of course, here is the regular season stands and the playoff stands of the season today. In the AFC, it's the Colts with the bye, with Jaguars at Patriots, Chargers at Broncos, and Bills at Steelers. And the NFC, it's the Eagles with the bye, with Lions at Buccaneers, 49ers at Seahawks, and Rams at Packers. And my Super Bowl prediction is the Colts over the Buccaneers. Alright, so now let's get to my Week 10 picks. Start off with Thursday night tonight, as it's the Raiders at the Broncos. The Broncos won the last two. The Raiders haven't beaten them since 2023. As the Broncos are one win away, of course, from taking the lead in the AFC after they beat the Texans last week in a defensive struggle and that comeback. Meanwhile, the Raiders, hard-fought game. Their offense finally looked good for the first time probably this year, as Geno Smith had 4 touchdowns, but they fell short on the 2-point conversion. Maybe they should have just gone for the tie instead, like the Packers did earlier. So, yeah, obviously I'm going to pick the Broncos for this one to take the lead in the AFC. Then on Sunday, of course, we get our first game, well, our only game actually, in Germany, as it's the Falcons at the Colts for the first time since 2019. The Falcons won the last one, the Colts haven't beaten them since 2019, and the Falcons haven't won on the road since 2011, as the Colts are trying to match their win total from last year. And if they win, they'll take back the lead in the AFC. So the Colts, of course, they got spanked by the Steelers. Even though the score was close at the end, they got spanked. As Daniel Jones played like shit. That whole offense completely collapsed out of nowhere against the Steelers. Meanwhile, the Falcons, they had a hard-fought game against the Patriots, as their defense did their job well. They got 5 sacks. And Drake London had a great game with 3 touchdowns, but in the end, it just wasn't enough with that missed extra point. But who knows if they will have even survived still in the end. And yeah, though, I'm picking the Colts for this one. And then it's the regular Sunday game, starting off with the Browns at the Jets for the first time since 2020. As the Browns won the last one. The Jets haven't beaten them since 2022, and the Jets haven't won at home against the Browns since 2020. So, of course, both teams were on their bye from last week. The Browns came off their bye after they got destroyed by the Patriots, despite the fact that Myles Garrett had 5 sacks. What a wasted opportunity for him to have that great of a game, but still not only not win, but get destroyed. Meanwhile, the Jets, of course, came off their bye after they got their first win of the year when they beat the Bengals with that gutsy 2-point conversion, which was a deciding factor. Man, that shows how bad the Bengals defense was in that regard. Oh boy. So yeah. But I still trust the Browns defense, unlike the Jets, so I'm going to pick the Browns for this one. And then it's the Saints at the Panthers, as the Panthers won the last one. The Saints haven't beaten them since 2024, and they haven't won in Charlotte since 2023. As the Saints are trying to avoid a second straight losing season. The Panthers, meanwhile, trying to improve their record from last year. So the Saints, of course, they got spanked, destroyed by the Rams. What else is there to say? The Panthers, meanwhile, their defense shut down the Packers' offense, and they got a huge upset road victory last week. Unbelievable. Even though their offense still looks terrible, but they still got the win, and that's all that matters. And yeah, I'm going to pick the Panthers for this one. There we go. And now we get to a huge outer conference matchup, as it's the Patriots at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2017. As the Buccaneers won the last one, the Patriots haven't beaten them since 2017, and the Buccaneers haven't won at home against the Patriots since 1997. As the Patriots continue to have that incredible season, as if they win and the Broncos and Colts lose, they'll take the number 1 seed over after they beat the Falcons last week. That O-line, though, they gotta be very concerned for Patriots. May has been sacked 10 times now in the last 2 games. That's not acceptable. So that O-line's a major issue. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers came off their bye after they beat the Saints a few weeks ago, as they're 6-2 right now, and looking really good. The Patriots O-line's a very big concern, and with that in mind, I'm actually going to pick the Buccaneers for this one. And then it's the Ravens at the Vikings for the first time since 2017, as the Ravens won the last one. The Vikings haven't beaten them since 2017. The Ravens have never won in Minneapolis. So the Ravens, of course, have now won 2 in a row. Lamar's back, and the first time this year, other than the Browns game, the Ravens looked really, really good. Offensively and defensively destroying the Dolphins, as, hey, maybe now they'll start making the comeback and challenge to take the division lead. We'll see. Meanwhile, the Vikings had a huge, needed victory against the Lions to save their season at the moment. That was huge to get back to 500 as J.J. McCarthy came back and once again didn't really play that good but got the job done. Oh boy, this will be an interesting game. But I trust the Ravens right now, so I'm going to pick the Ravens for this one. I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings get it. Then it's the Bills at the Dolphins, as the Bills won the last 6. The Dolphins haven't beaten them since 2022. So, the Bills, of course, beat the Chiefs last week in a hard-fought game, as they needed every point they can get, too. Even when they made Mahomes look bad, they barely still got the win. But it was a huge victory nonetheless. Meanwhile, the Dolphins got destroyed by the Ravens on Thursday night, and they got rid of their general manager. I'm surprised they didn't get rid of McDaniel. But who knows, maybe that'll happen very soon. But yeah, the Dolphins are in a complete mess, of course. I'm picking the Bills for this one. Then it's the Giants at the Bears for the first time since 2021. As the Giants won the last one, the Bears haven't beaten them since 2021. And the Giants haven't won in Chicago since 2007. So, the Giants, of course, lost to the 49ers. No real surprise there. Meanwhile, the Bears, oh my god, what a wild game it was against the Bengals. And it shows how bad the Bengals defense was that they allowed the Bears to win in the end. Oh my god, that last play for a touchdown. Ugh, I saw that and it was disgusting as a defense lover. Ugh. But yeah. So far recently, the Bears' offense has been more impressive than their defense. Although I'm sure it's because of the Bengals put up a lot of points on them. But I'm going to pick the Bears for this one. Then it's the Jaguars at the Texans, as the Jaguars won the last one. The Texans haven't beaten them since 2024, and they haven't won at home. And the Jaguars haven't won in Houston since 2023. So the Jaguars got a needed victory over the Raiders as they've improved their record from last year, as they still stay alive in the playoffs for the moment. Meanwhile, the Texans lost a hard-fought game to the Broncos, and even worse, C.J. Stroud suffered an injury, so he's out now. So lovely to see that as well. As David Mills is back. Yay! Nice to see him back. I also just realized a game's missing too, so I'm going to have to put that in there in a moment later on. Anyways, the Jaguars, their defense is looking good, although I'm sure it's because of the bye. The Texans are going to struggle without Stroud. So yeah, I'm going to actually pick the Jaguars for this one. And then we get to the 4 p.m. games. Starting off with a rematch of the divisional round last year, as it's the Lions at the Commanders for the first time since 2019. The Lions won the last one. The Commanders haven't beaten them. The Lions have won the last 2. The Commanders haven't beaten them since 2019. And the Lions haven't won in Landover since 2013. As the Lions, of course, lost to the Vikings in a game that they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. So now this is a worse season for the Lions than last year. Meanwhile, the Commanders, oh my goodness, just complete and utter annihilation from the Seahawks. As Sam Darnold had like a perfect game at one point, and Jaden Daniels got injured too. So yeah, so it looks like he's going to be probably done for the year. So yeah, back to Mariota again, looks like. And yeah, I'm picking the Lions to get this one in the rematch. Then a huge NFC West matchup, as it's the Rams at the 49ers. As the 49ers won the last one, the Rams haven't beaten them since last year, and the 49ers haven't won home against the Rams since 2022. So the Rams, of course, destroyed the Saints, as now all of a sudden, they look like one of the best teams in the NFC. They have an elite defense, their offense is becoming good, and Matthew Stafford has thrown, I think, 9 touchdowns and no picks in the last 2 games. Just unbelievable, insane stats. It's nice to see him having a great year again. Meanwhile, the 49ers matched their win total from last year as they spanked the Giants, and Mac Jones finally had an okay game for once. But hopefully, I'm not sure if Brock Purdy's going to start yet or not. I hope that'll be eventually soon. But I think regardless if he starts or not, I'm actually going to pick the Rams right now. They are on a roll. And of course, the game I missed is Cardinals at Seahawks. I don't know how I missed that again, even though it doesn't show on the site when I looked it up, because I just remembered. Anyways, Cardinals, Seahawks. Cardinals had an incredible game against the Cowboys. They needed that win to end their 5-game losing streak. And Jacoby Brissett is now going to stay the starter. He did enough to impress the team after that game last week. So good on him. Nice to see him back and such. Meanwhile, the Seahawks, of course, like I said, destroyed the Commanders on Sunday night, as Sam Darnold had an incredible game pretty much and such. So yeah, Seahawks, as much as I did not think they were going to be good at the beginning of the year, they are a Super Bowl contender right now. Like, almost everyone in the NFC, other than maybe the 49ers. And, yeah, despite the Cardinals looking better now with Brissett, I'm picking the Seahawks for that once. I'm going to put that right there really quickly. We have to fix that later on. All right, then we get to Sunday night, and it's a big one, as it's the Steelers at the Chargers for the first time since 2021. That game was also Sunday night. I swear, when the Steelers visit the Chargers, they always make it a night game for like the last 20 years. Anyways, the Steelers won the last one. The Chargers haven't beaten them since 2021, and the Steelers haven't won on the road since 2015. So Steelers, of course, got a huge need victory over the Colts, as their defense looked really good and such. Aaron Rodgers still looked like a game manager, though, by and large. Meanwhile, the Chargers beat the Titans, although it was actually a very close game. And they did not spank the Titans or destroy them like they really should have. That was a hard-fought game right down to the wire, so that's a little concerning for the Titans. I mean, the Chargers. But for this game, I'm going to pick the Chargers to win this one. And then it's Monday night, and it's a huge one, as it's the Eagles at the Packers for the first time since 2020. The Eagles won the last two. The Packers haven't beaten them since 2020. The Eagles haven't won in Lambeau since 2019. So the Eagles, of course, came off their bye after they destroyed the Giants 2 weeks ago, as right now Jalen Hurts looking really good the last 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the Packers, they lost to the Panthers. How do you do that? As, once again, Jordan Love looked like crap. He's, like, so inconsistent, and their defense is still being elite. Oh, boy, that's a tough one. This actually is a tough game to pick. The Packers' defense is elite, but Jordan Love is just... he's like really inconsistent. So I think I'm going to pick the Eagles for this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers get it. Alright, so those are my picks for Week 10. I cannot wait for Raiders at Broncos tonight, so my picks are the Broncos over the Raiders, the Colts over the Falcons, the Browns over the Jets, the Panthers over the Saints, the Buccaneers over the Patriots, the Ravens over the Vikings, the Bills over the Dolphins, the Bears over the Giants, the Jaguars over the Texans, the Lions over the Commanders, the Rams over the 49ers, the Seahawks over the Cardinals, the Chargers over the Steelers, and the Eagles over the Packers. Alright, so those are my picks, and see you all next week for my Week 11 picks.